And we're live.
Oh, look at that.
Hey, cleaning business owners. Welcome to another awesome interview with Peter Boland, who has a multi-seven-figure cleaning business. And today I just wanted to, thank you so much for coming on. I just wanted to dive into your story, pretty much just ask about how you got to where you are today. And actually, another thing I'll bring up a little bit later is what I see a lot in these groups and in this industry is a lack of ability to hire the right people, retain the right people, and so on. So just staffing and hiring is one of the main issues that Peter has pretty much just mastered. He has it down to a science. So I'm going to get into that in a little bit later. But yeah, first of all, thanks so much, Peter, for being on.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me. So I guess start with the story.
For sure.
So overall, we started 9 years ago. So I started it when I was, probably 24, 25 years old. I was actually doing call centers over in the Philippines and India. Wife and kid at the time, they did not want to move out to India and the Philippines to live. So I made a decision to come back home. I knew I couldn't work for anybody anymore. Like I was just wrecked from it. I didn't want to have people above me tell me what to do. So I started looking in franchise books and deciding what I wanted to like emulate and start. I wasn't going to purchase a franchise because I had like $86,000 in debt. But what I was going to end up doing was looking at one of the models and seeing if I could just learn it online and go and reproduce it. So I came across cleaning, and what attracted me to cleaning the most was the fact that I get a check every single month from these people, provided we provide good service. I didn't want to start a business where 1 month I'm eating craft dinner, next month I'm eating steaks and I'm struggling. I was willing to eat craft dinner for years so I would never have to go ahead and do that again. So I just put my call center skills to work. I picked up Yellow Pages back when they had Yellow Pages, opened it to the first restaurants and bars, called a place. I fluked out, got an estimate first call, went down and met the guy, completely talked a whole bunch of bullshit. I had no company name. I didn't have anything at the time. And I gave him a price. We terribly underbid on the price. I had no clue what I was doing.
I was about to ask if you knew how to bid.
No. I was off by like $500. Right? Like I just threw a whole bunch of shit against the wall and hope some of it stuck. And while we're doing the walkthrough, he's sitting back and he's like, okay, so like what type of broom are you going to use on this floor? I was like, type of broom? I'm like, we're just going to use a broom. Like I didn't know there was like dust mops, flat mops, angle brooms, corn brooms. If you'd ask my mom, she would say I never even cleaned my room. So I don't know why I got into a cleaning business. So we ended up getting the contract from the guy like the next day. And I had to rush off to a janitorial supply shop to learn how to do all this cleaning stuff. So they took me through how to like do it all. I bought all the equipment for it, paid the guy extra to actually come out and show me how to clean the place. And then I cleaned the place and then immediately went and started subcontracting it out. So that's how we started. And then from where we were then to where we are now, it's, we're seven figures across Canada, partners all across the country, and amazing clients and staff for One Janitorial. So, yeah. So that's kind of the intro into it story.
Kind of in a nutshell. That's fascinating, man. And I like the fact that you kind of just, even though maybe you didn't understand the ins and outs, you kind of just, trial and error. You went in there and you were able to figure out how to quote, how to do these different parts. Get the certain supplies that you need and everything like that.
I've learned that like advice, like not advice. There's two ways of doing things. One thing is the hard way, which is for some reason why I always do it, which is I try something and then figure it out along the way, which costs me a ton of money and a ton of stress and headache. And then there's taking, the experience of other people and using it. So once I started taking the experiences that other people had and applying it, provided they were the right experiences, we started taking off more. But yeah, still every once in a while, I try to grit it out on my own and figure it out because I'm just stubborn. But it always just cost me a lot more money and headaches. So yeah.
No, I definitely feel you on that. And even in my case, like as we were growing and everything, it's like there's always a level up. Obviously, you have to be careful about who you listen to, but yeah, if it's someone who's already made those mistakes, it's like why not why not just cut the curve, so to speak.
Yeah.
But also really curious. So you were touching on so you basically just, if I understand this correctly, so you got a bunch of contracts first, and then you decided to subcontract it out. Was there any particular reason for that, or was that able to help you grow? Would you think, or?
Yeah, I'm a terrible cleaner. that was the reason for it, right? I had a choice of me cleaning it, which I was not going to be good at, right? Or finding somebody who had more experience than me to do it, right? Like we have an accounting department here, we have a marketing department, operations department. Each one of those departments within our business, those people are better at me than those jobs, right? So cleaning is the exact same way. I am not the world's best cleaner, but we look and we find the best cleaners and then we put them to work. I don't train cleaners. If you don't know how to clean, we won't bring you on because I can't train cleaners. We find amazing cleaners, have them clean, and then we have them train the other cleaners, right? Running a business is not about being good at the service that you're providing. If you're the owner, it's about being good at being the owner and understanding how all the wheels move and ensure you're getting the best and most out of people when they work.
Gotcha. So for the cleaners, and do you kind of have certain cleaners that's like, what type of people do you hire? Is it people that specialize in certain types of cleaning, or what type of people do you usually bring on, or?
At the beginning, it was a little bit of a gamble, right? Because I didn't understand it. So I've done tons of hiring before. So we would just set out interviews for people at the beginning, do a couple interviews, find out if they had a company. We would call references of theirs. I brokered a deal, so they had their own equipment to go in there, and then they would clean it. I would come by once a week to inspect it, and then I'd go from there. And obviously after years of doing it, I understand how to clean. I understand the ins and outs of it because I have to. I know how to strip and wax. I know how to do all of it, but I had these people train me. I didn't train them. Yeah. So where we are now with hiring, there's really three phases we went through. One is we subcontracted everything out at the beginning. And then we went to having our own employees. Okay. Looking back, the way we subcontracted at the very beginning 10 years ago, we didn't follow the right guidelines that the CRA had in place. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything correct due to CRA guidelines, which is our taxes in Canada. And we hired employees, and we had employee programs, and we started paying twice a week, and doing it all correctly. When we had employees, the way we did the hiring was, actually, this is probably the best way to do it, is we found influential people within an area, in a city. We would bring them on, provided they knew how to clean, and they were great. Hey, Cameron, I'm just in the middle of something. Can you come back later? And then so we'd find these influential people that knew a lot of people in the community. We would bring them on. We would ensure that they had great quality of cleaning, and then we would get all of our people from that group of people. So we would pay them for referrals. They would go out, find people. Does that make sense? That they knew. They would bring them to us, and then we almost had a community of friends of people that worked together and did cleaning. So after the initial ad we put in to find people in a city, we rarely would put another ad in. Everything would be done through those people. So we would just start having more and more people. Right. So if we have 10 employees now I had 10 people to dive into and find people on. Does that make sense? And then we bring on 5 more, and then they have, another 20 people. So it was just this perpetual cycle of referrals that we had from cleaners that made everything easier.
Really
finding
cool.
The first one is the hardest one, though.
Yeah, I was actually curious, how you find that first core, but from that, with the referrals, are these just like friends or people that they just people
friends,
that they know?
Family, sisters, brothers, right? A lot of the time it's people they go to church with.
Gotcha.
Right? So we tend to bring on people who are new to Canada or immigrants that clean because they want to work full time, and then they want to work after hours to earn extra money to either send home, put their kids to university, whatever it was. So we would look for people that were not looking for full-time, only looking for part-time. And then we would put them in buildings, right? And then we would call their full-time job for referrals. And if their full-time job was like, they're always on time, they're punctual, they're great people, then we would hire them because we have a current reference of what they're doing right now for work.
I see. Right? So it seems like you're kind of finding almost like your Avengers squad of just A players in terms of people that are helping you out. And then it's just kind of a matter of maybe like replicating those people, kind of like where they come from, the communities that they come from, the companies that they come from.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's all just community hires. It's all boils to like, because once you have one and they give you two, now you have two people who are going to give you four. Now you have four people who are going to like, it just multiplies over time.
I see. How were you able to successfully, I have so many questions, sorry. How are you able to successfully motivate people to send you referrals? Like, did you have like a referral program for anyone that they knew that could possibly be hired by you? Or how are you able to
majority of the time, no, we would just ask and they'd be like, yeah, we actually know a lot of people who are looking for extra work.
Oh, I see.
Usually people who are immigrants who want to work hard tend to hang out with other immigrants who want to work hard. They don't hang out with losers that don't do anything, right? So like once you get into the right place, and that's why finding that influential person is really important, it just spreads out. Now, we have had times where all of a sudden 1 month, bang, we'll grow by 20 contracts. And getting 20 new cleaners, that's a tough one, right? So usually what we'll do then is we'll incentivize that if they could give us, 3 referrals each and we hire one and they stay for 90 days, we'll give them $150 or $200 depending on the contract value size. Yeah. And then sense. That would incentivize them to give more.
I see.
Yeah. And a lot of the times when you bring these other people on, they may have a little bit of cleaning experience, not a whole ton, but they have their friend train them on how they did it, or the person that they recommended trains them. They also don't want to let the person they recommended down. So they tend to do amazing work because they don't want to be that bad example of that person. So like it kind of perpetually all works together. And they all know each other. So if you have a company event, everybody knows each other. Like it's really, really good.
So it's like you're kind of, it's not even like you have to create a community. You're kind of finding a community that's already there and you're just bringing them into your
I'm just bringing in a pre-baked community in. Yeah.
Really cool. What gave you that idea to do that? Like, did it kind of just happen by accident? Like you started
trial and error. Trial and error. I would hire really bad cleaners and I couldn't figure out why. And then all of a sudden one worked and then I would ask for a referral and then he'd give me some and they were great. And I was like, okay, what's the common denominators of all these things? And then we just found the common denominators and reproduced it across all the cities we operated in.
Wow. So kind of going back to, that first hire, let's say someone is starting out, maybe they got a bunch of like this lady, for example, that I talked to yesterday, she has a bunch of contracts, but she's more so kind of like working in the weeds. She doesn't really have anyone to work with her. What would be your recommendation to find that influencer or, kind of that core person or a couple of people that will perpetuate?
The lady has what, 4 or 5 new contracts, you said, right?
Yeah, I guess just as like an example, maybe if someone
so let's say 4 or 5 new contracts. So whenever I bring somebody new on, I try not to give them more than like $1,000 worth of work right away. Okay. I don't know how their cleaning is going to be. So if it's not the best and I give them all these contracts, I end up with a giant headache and I have to take them all away. So we'll usually bring on a couple right at the beginning if we have that many contracts. And if one doesn't work out, I know the other 2 want extra work so that we can give it to them and it works out. So we'll bring on 2 or 3 if we start that many. Okay. Way to do it is put an ad in Indeed at the beginning. Okay. You're going to get tons of applicants. You need to have like very, very good questions. Like, do you have janitorial experience? If so, how many years? Please post it on your resume, like very, very clear with it. What we would do is put like a DISC assessment link. So I don't know if you know what a DISC assessment is. It's like a personality assessment. Yeah. At the bottom. And we would ask them in the ad to fill it out before you apply, and you'll find that 80% of them don't even read the ad. They're just clicking through stuff, right? So if you're not going to read the ad already, I know there's an issue. So if we get a disc assessment back from these people right away, then we'll go. I don't care what the disc assessment says. Like, it doesn't bother me in any way at all. I just care that I asked them to do something and they did it before they started, right? And then if they have that, and then if we'll go back and they have janitorial experience, we'll call them, we'll ask for referrals. And again, a lot of the time I'm looking like, are these people part of a church? Are these people part of some community that I can leverage to get more people from them? You know, so like I'm looking for that. If a guy is just brand new to the city, I know it's probably not going to work out. You know, so here's an example. I started this and figuring this out in Brandon, Manitoba. Brandon, Manitoba is like a 50,000 person town, really tiny, but they have a hog plant that immigrates people here from El Salvador, China, all these places to work at this hog plant. So I would just ensure that they worked at Maple Leaf. And then after that, and we bring them on if they had cleaning experience, then I would leverage that out. Because I knew that if there was one person that worked there, there was probably 50. And it's all part of a community. So it doesn't have to be a church. It was like I knew this one business imported a whole bunch of people, and they all knew other people. So I would make sure that they'd worked or know people that works there. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Wow. Yeah. So I guess it's just, you know, after you find a couple that have those ties to the communities, then it's hiring doesn't even seem to be a problem. I mean, even if the worst case, if you get a bunch of contracts, like you said, you just maybe raise the bar in terms of incentives, or even, you know, an Indeed ad, you know, to kind of just get some people. By the way, I can totally attest to what you said with Indeed in terms of people just not filling in, not wanting to fill in the information, because, you know, when I graduated college, I was applying to jobs, and if something had more than like 5 questions, I would just click out of it and I would just move on to the next job. So I could
just make it difficult.
Yeah, I could totally.
We'll get 350 people apply for something sometimes, and I'm like, man, I'm just not going to go through 350 applicants. First of all, second of all, majority of them are garbage. But I just need to be able to find the one that is amazing. So we set up all these barriers that kind of take care of the work for us.
I see.
Yeah.
In terms of, and I know you said you're always looking for people they're already specialized, they already have experience in certain areas of janitorial, plus you sometimes test them out. Do you also do a certain level of training, or some types of like standardized training, or like?
Yeah, we have like a day and a half roughly of what it is online video training, where they go through like cleaning training, supply works training, how our company operates, best way to communicate with us, all these things. And then afterwards they get put in place for anywhere between 2 and 4 days, depending on the building size, with an experienced cleaner. Right. And then at the end of that 2 to 4 days, I have a meeting with that cleaner. Well, not me, my operations department does, to determine if this person's going to be a good fit or not. You know?
I see. And then in terms of like being a good fit or not, what are some things that you look for?
Cleaning time.
Okay.
A lot of it's cleaning time, and did they remember to follow the checklist, right? So first day we'll sit back and they'll shadow the experienced person. Okay. Second day, they do it together. Third day, they're on their own doing it, right? There's usually a couple of things that they miss. The guy has a communication with them and kind of goes over what needs to happen, where they made mistakes. Day 4, they're on their own completely. The guy shows up at the end of it to look at the quality of work. And if there's stuff missed, you know, maybe we add more time. Maybe we decide not to go with them. Yeah.
I see.
There's non-negotiables in the cleaning. Like if you can't remember to lock a door, like the outside door, or set alarm correctly, if you can't remember to change a garbage bin or go back and put a bag in, or you're leaving or you forgot a bathroom, like these are all non-negotiables. Dusting not to the complete back of a shelf, you know, those are all trainable things, but there's a lot of non-negotiables in the janitorial industry.
I see. Yeah. So I guess, from what you're saying, it's mostly, you know, if there's something that's could basically just tarnish your reputation in any way. If, you know, like, I mean, I can't even, you know, I can imagine that if a property manager sees that their place was unlocked overnight or, you know, something, I'm sure that would not go over too well. Yeah. Wow. Really cool. So I guess, yeah. So like someone right now, so if they're looking to hire, so mostly first steps, go on Indeed, create pretty much systemized process front to back that really just qualifies the people that are going to be applying, and then just try to find people that, you know, have those ties to the community experience. Was there anything else that you'd say? Community experience?
I don't talk hourly wages. I talk money per month, right? So, and again, it could change depending on what province or state you're in. Like we have some of our provinces where I could pay people as an employee monthly. And then there's other provinces we have where we have to pay them minimum biweekly, right? But I talk monthly money. So we've never really paid more than minimum wage plus, you know, a touch. We're talking 50 cents, maybe max $1, unless there is a lot of quirks that go into the building. So when I say quirks, we have to have safety regulations. Like we got one contract that's, you know, $30,000 plus a month that has 6 people on site, some full-time, some part-time, but there's tons of safety regulations that go in it, to the point where if somebody like lights a match, a whole town could get blown up. Right. So we have to pay people extra to go into there because they have to be a lot safer. And there's just a lot more that goes on to it logistically. But for majority and the bulk of our contracts, which are 1 day a week to 7 days a week, you know, average of $1,000, it was always just minimum wage. But the way we would frame it to these people is, hey, you're going to make for this building $600. Right. And it worked out hourly to about, you know, minimum wages. So you're going to make $600 a month on this building, right? You're going to be here roughly between this many hours and this many hours. Here's what we need done in the building. So if you give them 3 buildings that are, you know, let's say $500 each, they're making $1,500 a month. So I talk $1,500 a month, not $15 an hour. Do you understand?
Yeah, kind of.
So it makes it a lot easier to go, yeah, you're going to be making $1,500 a month on this. And they love it because they could go and do it. They could bring their wife, which cuts the time down in half, right? They would have to go through our training and all these other things. But the power of the janitorial industry for hiring workers is not making them like a Tim Hortons employee where they have to show up at this time and leave at this time. The power of our industry is the fact that we get to go in anytime, usually after 5:30, and we just need to be done roughly by 2 a.m., I say, and they can go in anytime they want to go in and do it. Right. So if they have a kid's soccer game that they want to go attend to, they don't have to be scheduled at Tim Hortons or some coffee place to go work. They get to go to their kid's soccer game and then go with their wife later on to clean, right? It is a lifestyle design where they get to make more money. That's the power of our industry.
Wow. Would you say, that lifestyle design, do you kind of bring that up in those conversations a lot?
Yeah.
Just, you know, them being able to work around their schedule and all that?
Yeah, it's part of the training. It's part of the sales pitch with it, but they already know that. Right. Majority, again, like I said, these people have previous cleaning experiences, and a lot of them have experiences with big companies. And with big companies, that's what they're allowed to do. It's these smaller companies that are new that don't quite have it yet or haven't clicked it. So what they end up doing is they try to like jam them in. You have to be here at 5 o'clock, right? And I want full-time employees only because I want to create a culture with these ones. Well, I mean, you could create a culture with part-time employees that have this pre-baked in community, and it works fantastic. And if I have more part-time employees, I'm stronger than if I have a few full-time employees. If you have 3 full-time employees and they're each working 30 hours and you lose one, well, you could give 10 hours to one guy, 10 hours to another guy, but now you're left still cleaning for 20 hours. Okay. If I have 10 part-time employees each doing 15 hours and I even have 3 quit, I'm not even close to anything full-time. And the rest of them will be begging for work.
I see. So yeah, what would you say is maybe one or two of the biggest common mistakes in this industry for people, how they either hire or how they train and maintain their employees? Because you seem to have a very unique way about going about it. But yeah, what have you seen that a lot of owners do with their employees that just maybe hurts them more than it helps them?
Well, they do nothing. That's their biggest problem. Hey, you want to clean? Yeah, sure. I'll clean for you. Okay, great. The equipment's in there. Just go clean. They assume that everybody knows automatically how to clean, right? So we've since doing that, we've moved into more of a partner format, and we've kind of changed the landscape and layout of our business. So now what we end up doing is we partner with smaller janitorial companies, and then we give them the information that they need to develop a world-class cleaning business. And then we actually give them clients too. The biggest mistake that they make when we're coaching them on it is they want to grow. They get contracts from us, no different than this lady you were talking about yesterday. And then they end up losing contracts because they didn't know how to put people in place and they just run themselves ragged. And then they go, oh, it's the people that I'm bringing on that's the issue. Right? Well, no, it's your processes to hiring that's the issue, and it's your standard of person, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, and you make it, I think your approach, it's a lot simpler, because it's like, if you can just first bring on a person or two or three that match those qualifications that we talked about, then the rest of your journey as a cleaning business owner is it kind of just sets the stage and sets the momentum, I guess. That's kind of the way that I'm looking at it.
It makes it easy to find them, right? So we have avatars for everything in our business. So like, an avatar is, I've heard it like said a million different ways, but avatar is an exact person that we're looking for. Let me see if I have it. No, I don't have one around here right now, but we have them like taped up in our office. Here's a partner avatar. Here's an accelerator avatar. Here's our salesperson avatar. Here's our administrator avatars. So that when we start looking for these people, we're like, okay, what are we looking for? Oh, here. And if we don't have one for a new position, like we didn't have one for a video editor because we're going to be dumping a whole bunch of content come April 1st. We had to develop an avatar for it, exactly what we were looking for. And then it was like, 20 people applied. And we found the exact right person in like 2 days because we knew what we were looking for. We weren't going through all these interviews wondering, I
see. So in terms of creating that avatar, and by the way, I've actually never heard of any cleaning business owner do this, as at least as of yet. But in terms of like the avatar, like how far do you go into, in terms of details of what you're looking for, or is it kind of just a basic level, like, for these interviews, just experience level, personality type, things like that?
No. I mean, like we go pretty deep on it. So if I was going to pick a cleaner one, it would be like cleaner with a husband and wife couple, or brother that can clean, like brother or sister that can clean with them, influential in the family or has connections to the community, between the ages of X and X. Right. Again, we'll always hire outside of it if we have to, but we look at what we've been successful with, and it helps us kind of narrow it in a little bit. Right. So between the ages of X and X, has a cell phone, vehicle that can drive with it, can speak up to 80% English. And if they can't, can at least type 80% English. Like it's every single thing that you could possibly imagine that goes into it.
Wow.
Yeah, we just want exactly what we want, and they're out there. Like they're out there. If you talk to these other cleaning owners, the issue is I can't find good people. They never say that, well, I can't find anybody to apply, because there's tons of people that apply. They just pick the wrong ones. That's all that happens.
Yeah, clarity. I mean, that's huge. I mean, just being able to just have that, not even in your, maybe you have, since you have such a, sizable team, it's like, maybe you think, if you don't have an avatar, I'm just thinking like, maybe you think, who you want to hire, but not everyone else can read your mind. They don't know.
We've made many mistakes because I didn't have an avatar before. I had an avatar for cleaners, but we didn't have an avatar for the other positions. Right. So I put somebody into hiring, and then I kept getting the wrong people. Like, oh my God, did we get the wrong people? We had the wrong demographic. We had all of it. And we struggled really bad when we first moved to Calgary for like a year and a half, because we just hired the wrong people. And then once I was like, okay, well, what works when we're hiring cleaners? I'm like, oh, I have everything mapped out. We did the exact same here. And it's like everything changed immediately. So, yeah.
I see. Actually, I wanted to address this one question Alexander was asking. So he was asking about your turnover. So with this method, what is your turnover been? Has it been pretty consistent, like a certain amount, or
like zero? Like there's barely any. So the way I'll define turnover as is, at the beginning, I was telling you guys that we make sure that they want to be cleaning for a reason. They're sending money back home. They're putting their kids through school. They want to pay off their house. They want to pay off their car. So what I found is I usually have them for the amount of time that they have that goal. Okay. So if they're like, I want to come on because I want to pay my car off, and then let's say a year or two goes by. Okay. And then all of a sudden they start like being a bad cleaner, or something's like, they just shift all of a sudden, because it'll happen like a snap of the fingers. It's usually because the reason why they started is all paid off, and they don't need the money anymore. Because they don't need the money, then they're like, wow, why am I really doing this? They lose it. So usually we'll have them for a very long time. We either burn them out in like a week or two because we just don't feel that they're doing good, or we have them for years. The other mistake I made was I would overload them at the beginning. So I'd be like, oh, we got a good guy, building, and they would just burn out. So that's why we started max at the beginning, $1,000, and then we progressively leveled them up over time.
Yeah, instead of kind of just giving them all the hours, all the jobs at once. Yeah. I see. So he's also asking. This is so valuable. I don't know if you realize how valuable this is, but this is incredibly helpful. So I think it was. Let's see. Oh, Alexander. So yeah, he was just curious. What is the minimum wage where you service up in Canada?
It depends on provinces. So when I started, minimum wage was like $7 an hour, $8 an hour. One of the provinces we're in is $15 an hour. Another province we're in is 10 something. So like it shifts. So when I started, the minimum wage was a lot lower, but I mean, where the minimum wage at is irrelevant to it. Like you're not bringing people on to make a minimum wage. You're bringing people on that want to be in control of their evenings so that they can still have a life, and they're going to want to bring their brother or their family member with them to clean, and they just need $1,000, and you're going to help find them $1,000 worth of work. And the deal is that they're going to do that work, and you're going to get it. And like when I say the deal is you make it very clear that that's the deal. And I mean, I've gone, and this is probably not the best of me, at least like 7 months without talking to some people. They're just in a building, cleaning. I'll show up once a month to ensure that the cleaning's going good. And I won't talk to them for 7 months, and they'll just get paid every single time. If they have any problems, they have a manager to reach out to. Like, you don't have to bother them because they don't want to be bothered. They're doing it for a lifestyle. Like, the more that you have to talk with them and go see them, it actually pisses them off because they're like, I don't want to be managed. I have a full-time job where I'm an accountant, right? And I handle X amount of businesses. I don't need a guy that owns a janitorial company to micromanage me about cleaning. Just leave me alone. Let me do it, and I'll do the best work, but let me just do it. So like it is a very, very good deal for these people, and that's how you're working it out.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's maybe another thing that happens sometimes is, being a little bit too strict on, oh, you have to clock in at this time. And it's, I think, maybe kind of that same mentality with the minimum wage. Oh, you have to clock in and clock out at this time. I'm going to be inspecting you. And it's, back when I used to work like food service jobs, it doesn't feel good when someone is just over your shoulder looking at you. all day, every day. And
No,
it makes you nervous. It makes you make mistakes.
Yeah. Like if you're hiring minimum wage employees. So when I say minimum wage employees, I do not mean the type of people I'm talking about. The type of people I'm talking about are not minimum wage employees. They usually have a full-time job where they're making double minimum wage. Like we have accountants that have come over and are full-blown accountants, and then they go clean at night for us to make extra money. So like these are not minimum wage people that we bring on. These are highly intelligent people that back where they were living from were like marketing directors, doctor, like these are very smart people that we have. Okay. So if you're hiring minimum wage employees and the person you're bringing on is a minimum wage employee, right, and they have a minimum wage mindset, you are going to get minimum wage problems. They are not going to show up. They are going to argue with you when you try to hold them accountable to the standard. Right? They have problems in their life. They are not good people to be around, and your company will eventually be affected by it, period. So what people usually do is they bring these $15 an hour people on that are problem people. And then they go, oh, the issue is I'm not paying these people enough, so I'm going to pay them more. Well, you could pay somebody with a $15 an hour mindset more. It doesn't mean you change their mindset. You're just paying them more money to still create problems. It's not a money issue. You understand?
That makes a lot of sense. If someone were to, if they have an opportunity with a $15 employee, maybe they seem to check a lot of boxes. Do you think it's possible to shift that mindset, or should they just not ever even consider that, and then always go after those with a full time?
So a mistake I made when I came out here to Calgary and I shifted the whole business model around was I was like, you know what, I'm going to bring people in who have great standards and are hard workers, and I'm going to educate them up to where I need to be. It was a disaster, right? It was taking too long. It wasn't working, and I couldn't figure out why. And then we brought in an accountant, right? An accountant's actually one of our partners and one of our cleaners too, by the way. That's the accountant for me here. We brought her in and I was like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to do QuickBooks. And she's like, just give me the passcode. I'll figure it out my own. And then she just whipped everything into shape within a month. And I was like, oh, I'm trying to train people up when there's already people out there with pre-baked skills that I just got to bring on.
Yeah.
So that's how you should look at it. Maybe they have the mindset, maybe everything's great, but you're going to have to dedicate a lot more time to that person. And all my time, all I wanted to do was just go and sell. Period.
Yeah. And maybe it's tempting to try to find, whoever's going to cost the least, but in the long run, you're just costing yourself a lot of time and resources in terms of, training and a lot of headache and stress.
Yeah. I burned millions doing it, millions in 1 year. It was ridiculous. Real money and real growth. It was retarded.
Yeah. Anyone listening to this, listen to what Peter said, because he's been through it all. So don't make these same mistakes, guys. I mean, this is why you listen to people like Peter, because he's seen what works and he's seen what doesn't work. And just bite the bullet and find people that are qualified. Find people that are going to do the job right. And also too, I wanted to quickly mention, I think by having that avatar, not only are you able to know if someone's the exact person you're looking for, but even in your postings on Indeed, when you start to hire, you can literally just it's interesting that you said that, because for me, from a marketing perspective, one of the best forms of ad copy and marketing is when you understand your audience. So when you're able to understand the benefits, the pain points, basically the mindset of the audience that you're speaking to, that's how you attract naturally who you want to attract into, into case of marketing, into a specific offer or something along those lines. But in the case of a job interview, I feel like it's almost the same thing. If you understand the mindset and psychology of who you want to hire.
It's like prospecting too. Right. So it's like you have the giant funnel at the top. You have 300 people come in and apply to it. Out of those 300 people, you weed it down through your avatar to 10. Out of that 10, 5 show up for an interview. Out of that 5 show up for the interview, you pick 2. But in the meantime, you're having to follow up with them. You're having to do all it. It is every single thing is symbiotic. When you're trying to push out into the marketplace, It's all the same. Phone calls, emails, text messages, funnels, flyers, all of it, right?
Absolutely. Kind of switching a little bit, before I get into that, I think Alex was asking. Oh, he was asking, what are your profit margins, or does it depend on the type of job, or from your experience?
Are you talking about gross, net, so after employees, or what are we talking about here?
Yeah, Alexander, just if you don't mind, just give us a little bit more detail on what you were asking about the profit margins. Yeah, is that after?
I'll answer the question in a different way. So when I first started, I didn't care about profit margins. I didn't know anything about the industry. All I cared about was like, I had no job. I was $86,000 in debt. I had a wife and kid, and I was living in my mom's basement. Okay. That was a problem for me. Right. So I didn't care about, man, I got to make $250 on this client or, like I got to get rid of it. All I cared about was like, okay, if I get one client, I get to put a cleaner in there, and then that cleaner can probably clean other stuff, so I won't have to clean anymore. So like at the beginning, if I made $50 on a job that was $1,000, I was like, okay, that's my gas this week paid for. All right, and I would just look at my expenses, and I was like, I am just covering up all my expenses. It is easier to have a whole bunch of clients that make you very little money and then do great work and go back 3 months later and be like, hey, it's taking me a little longer, I need to boost it up $100, than it is to have 0 clients and go nowhere. Like you can't, if you have 0 clients, I can't reduce expenses or increase profit. I have nothing. Right. So that is just how we figured it out. And then over time, I just figured out how to do pricing, and just got it. And then I started looking into cleaning times and coming up with mathematical formulas to do it. And so like our profit margin now is probably between 15 on a job, depending on how big the job is, right? If it's massive, and 50%. We did last year a little over about 5.4 million. And that was with a COVID year, right? This year we should do 7. And, we walked away with $1 million. So
it's pretty good. 50%. That's amazing.
Yeah. Smaller jobs are higher. Does that make sense? So smaller jobs, I can bill more because I have to have the equipment and everything. Like we have minimum standards. When you start getting to like $3,000, $5,000, $30,000 a month in value to it, like you're just not going to get it 50%. And, I shouldn't say that. We got one job where we're close to that. I'm like 20 grand a month, but the job's a nightmare. Like it is worth it. If I got paid anything less than it, I wouldn't do it. So,
do you have a certain criteria where you wouldn't take a job? Would you say, like, is it
the way we're doing our program now? So at the beginning, no, I mean, I took everything. Window cleaning, take it. Let's figure out how to clean windows. And it would take me twice as long to do it. Right. And because I just wanted to figure out how to do each job. I mean, my first stripping and waxing job, I watched YouTube videos, went and bought all the equipment and figured out how to strip and wax a floor. It was a disaster. It like took me 10 times longer than it should have. It came out great, but I just gritted down and committed to doing it. Then after I learned how to do it, then I brought people in who are experts to do it. And even if I brought people in who are experts, I would actually go with them the first time and be like, man, just show me how to do it. I need to be able to like talk the lingo in order to figure it out. So just one day at a time.
Mm. One thing I wanted to just kind of bring up for people watching this, and I don't know if anyone kind of got this from this conversation. So one thing I feel like you're very good at is that mindset of understanding what it is that you are good at, what your strengths are, which is being on the phone, selling, and also building systems. So basically leveraging that and then hiring and finding experts, whether those are workers or your accountant, for example, to fulfill other parts of your business, and basically just let them do what they're good at, so that you can continue, kind of focusing on the higher level and growing things as a whole. And
and I've made mistakes on it, and I've made mistakes on it, and I've tried to like run it, And what's really stopped me from growing is my inability to like let go of things. So like up to our like 5th or 6th year, we were only doing, $800,000 a year in sales. And then it was like, cause I just didn't want to let go of money. I was like, no, this is my money. I want to keep it all. Right. I want to make $100,000 a year, but we just couldn't grow anymore because I was doing the accounting and I was doing the sales and so then we brought in an administrator, and then all of a sudden I was like, I had more time so I could sell, and our sales went up, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I started bringing in sales guys, and then it was like, we went from 800 to 1.2, 1.2 to like 2 to 3.7, and then like 4.5. Like we just started skipping. Does that make sense?
Wow.
Right. And like, we had a stagnant year. So we had the reason why I started bringing in people is because we had a stagnant year. We did 850,000 in sales for 2 years. And I was like, why did that happen? Every other year we've grown a little bit. So I had a couple other businesses with friends. So I was distracted. So I got rid of them all and I went all in on this avenue. And then we brought in people. And then we had a stagnant year like 2 years ago. And I was like, okay, why do we have a stagnant year at 4.5? And I was like, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm refusing to bring in high level operations people where I maybe pay somebody 150, 200 grand a year. So I don't do it anymore. I'm trying to, again, hold on to all the money. It's just at a different financial level. It's not paying somebody $30,000 a year. I had to pay 200 grand, and then I had to pay 130,000 for a sales guy manager, right? So I had to let go of things. It's just the same thing at different financial levels as you go up.
I see. Would you say that was kind of a gradual increase of just, you being required to let go of things? Or was that kind of, did you hit a certain point where it was just like, would you say that was kind of like the point where you were just like, either I hold the money or, I make these decisions that, where I can pay all these employees or everything like that?
If I'm really stressed out and running around ragged, I'm doing something wrong. So that's what I've noticed these past 2 times, is I'm stressed out. I'm working harder than I should, and we're not growing. Okay. So if I'm doing that, it's because I'm doing something wrong. And to be brutally honest, every mistake we have here in this company is my fault. I'm the leader. I take accountability for it. So the easier it is for me to just take accountability, being like, okay, something's broken right now and I need to figure out why. Then I'll sit back and champ through books. Whoa, right here. I'll champ through books. This is Principles by Ray Dalio.
Great book.
Great. I have a library in here of books, and I just start going through books of people who are at the level that are higher than the level I'm at, but are talking at where I'm at. So a big thing that I see when people start listening to a coach is they'll look at a guy like Tony Robbins, let's say, and he'll say things like, oh, money doesn't matter. And like, it's about your purpose in life. And I'm like, yeah, well, money doesn't matter when you have $1 billion, right? But there was a time when you were small and didn't have any money. And guess what mattered? Money, right? So I'm not looking at his advice at when he's at $1 billion. I'm looking at his advice where I'm at right now. What did he do when he was at that level? Because you need to be able to take advice from the same level you're at, but the person needs to be higher than where you're at, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And I admire your constant ability to just self-educate. Because let's be honest. I mean, we get into business for profit and all that, to create impact and all that. But it's also a personal journey. What you do in your personal life and how you grow as a person is how it's going to reflect in your business. And especially for someone like you who has all these employees, all these, contracts riding on, your company, your ability to make decisions and learn from the best.
Yeah, man, it was hard to let go. It was hard. Like up until 2 years ago, you asked me about any single client, I'd be like, oh yeah, that person's this person. Here's what they like, da, da, da. Like I knew everything about them. Now, if you ask me, I'm just like, I'll walk out and somebody will say something about a client. I'm like, well, who's that? I don't even know who that is because I don't know, man. We have hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of clients, right? I just make sure that department is servicing them correctly, following through on them. But I can't remember, 2,000 people's names anymore and what they like, right? We have a CRM for that, and we have a team that's devoted to giving them what they need and want. Right. So letting go of it, but still understanding what goes on in the company is a very big balance for me.
I see. And then in terms of those teams, I know I'm asking a ton of questions here, but
shoot.
So in terms of those teams, how are you able to, I know you said before, you're kind of speaking in terms of, the monthly revenue and all of that, but I mean, do you have a way of just constantly setting that vision and for your company to basically allow them to do what they're good at, but also, continue to stay motivated over time?
Yeah, we got like core values on the walls. We have writing on the walls in other areas. And they're like my favorite sayings. Like my whole body is tattooed with specific sayings about stuff, like to remind me of what I'm trying to do. So we have those things. And then every morning we have an 8 a.m. kickoff. Okay. So 8 a.m. usually what happens, we'll go in the sales room. We'll sit around everybody. Well, actually, we'll stand. But now with COVID, we're doing it video like this, which is annoying. But we'll go through everybody's wins. Hey, what did you do yesterday? That was a win. I closed 2 client tickets, and we did a successful strip and wax. Great job. What did you do as a win? I sold $13,000 in clients. Great job. It's just 1 or 2 things from everybody. No negativity. I don't want to hear I got hung up 150 times on. I don't want to hear, I got yelled at by this person. I don't want to hear any of it. I only want the wins. Like we could deal with the problems throughout the day, but at the beginning, I only want W's for everybody to hear. Everybody claps for them afterwards, and then we get to work, right? And then once a month, I do a full half-day training seminar of things I want to train them on, vision, goal setting, or whatever. And we also do lunch with everybody in the office, and we go over like awards. So we have trophies for the awards for the previous month, whoever did the best in sales. We have awards for our service team. We just do that every month. And then obviously we have incentive bonuses and other stuff.
I see. Yeah, it's a lot of positive focused, I think, a lot of this stuff. It's, focusing on the wins, the success.
Especially when you're in sales. And you're in sales and you're making 150 phone calls and you're getting 3 appointments. And that means on 147 calls, you got your teeth kicked in. It's nice to only talk about the good stuff that you did, not the 147 calls where it went sideways.
Yeah. Yeah. And you started doing cold calling. I mean, I started doing cold calling. It's definitely not easy, man. God, no. I started working with restaurants, man. That was my first industry. Yeah. Cause I was like, oh my God. Like, I worked in the food service, throughout college. And I was like, I know the industry, I can talk to these people, but yeah, boy, was I wrong.
No, it's, I did my first cold call when I was 12. My dad ran a little call center in Brandon, and he needed people to help ID votes. So we call people who were voting, ask them who they were voting for. So he was like, hey, get on the phone. You're IDing votes. So like I started cold calling when I was 12, and then I was 13. He put me on other stuff, and I've been cold calling since I was 12 up until I was, well, I guess now really. Now we just got a little call center in the back. So that experience that I had with running call centers and working in call centers has completely shaped how I run business here. The number one thing anybody should take from this is, yes, the hiring program is great, but if you're starting, you need to master selling. There's marketing, there's all those things. It's all great, bringing in leads. They're all symbiotic to selling. Because if you give somebody who's new 2,000 leads of great janitorial contracts, and they don't know how to create a proposal, present their product, build value in it, follow up over time, and push on the close, you're going to go nowhere with it, and they're just going to blame the client.
Preaching to the choir, man. That's so true. Yeah, I'm wondering, so in terms of bidding, quoting, mastering your sales process, do you think that's more of just kind of people just doing these calls and just kind of learning trial by fire type thing, or maybe certain trainings, or?
The issue that I have with training, like we're creating some type of sales training program right now, and a lot of it's for our partners. So it's a big part of what we're doing right now with the videographer and everything. Because we want our partners to go out and be successful without us. Like we subcontract our jobs to other people, but part of the deal is we give them sales training so they could grow their own companies without us. We don't take a percentage of it. We just want them to be successful. Our whole market is going to be North America soon. So I don't need to grind real deep on one location and, get upset if we train partners how to sell and they go steal some of our contracts. We're just going to go wide, not deep, right? But I mean, I would recommend learning from somebody who's done it in the industry. Like me learning this industry was different than just the call center stuff that I did. Right. Like you got to learn from the industry, because if you're learning from somebody who did cold calls for car sales, let's say, it is just not the same. And you're going to have to take their data and then transfer it to janitorial. But if you don't know what works and what doesn't work, it's a real bad like learning curve to it. It's been really difficult. Like I pay a coach 40 grand a year to sit down with like for 4 hours. And I've had other coaches and they give me all this data for me to take into my business, but they don't tell me how to apply it to the business. They just tell me, here's what a company structures are like. Here's what it looks like. I need to figure out how to change it to my industry. That is very difficult. Like it is not easy at all. Taking information from a book of a guy, like let's look at, this book right here, taking information from this guy who's in financial services and applying it to the janitorial industry. That's work. It doesn't just like, I'm going to take this paragraph and here's the way it works. It doesn't. So you got to figure it out. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. Cause even those books, I mean, yeah, the value could be great, but maybe it's a completely different context. And it's like, how do I translate that over? I mean, I can't even imagine that. I mean, most of the programs that we've done are in our industry, but I mean, yeah, that's a whole nother type of, thinking, I guess. Do you have a best book that you recommend to people that are cleaning that has pretty much, would you say, transformed you, or as like a leader, or
what stage are they at for cleaning?
I think most of them are, they have a couple of contracts, but they're just looking to grow and hire and continue to expand.
Traction by Gino Wickman or something like that. I can't remember who it's by.
I just finished
did you? Yeah. It's a really good book that's simple to read. And it's going to give you an understanding of, hiring practices and like regiments for meetings with your team and expectations and processes. So it's an entry-level book for new people. So I would recommend definitely going with something like that.
Perfect.
Right. If you're talking about somebody has a $1 or $2 million company, then you're looking for like a principles book, which goes very deep into stuff. Like it's analytical. You got to read this book like 5 times to understand it, So I would go with this book and then some other sales type books. Yeah.
Perfect. Listen, man, I think we're approaching an hour now, but this has been huge. Like this is, these types of problems. I mean, I see it again and again, and to learn from someone like you and just kind of apply these things. And I would encourage anyone who's watching this to rewatch it or do whatever you got to do to retain it. And then not only that, apply it. Because all the knowledge in the world is useless unless you apply it, right? So, step by step, create your avatar wherever you're at. Just kind of just apply these principles and your principles, and apply it. Start applying it to your business. Peter, thank you so much for being on. Where can people either get in touch with you? I think you said you have a YouTube channel as well. And I know you're starting
YouTube channel is being built right now. You guys can get a hold of me at the Peter Boland on Instagram, or just like my Facebook page. If you guys are on here, I'm part of the group. Find it, friend me. I'm open to everybody. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Peter Boland. I just put it on the bottom there.
Yeah,
that's correct. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on, Peter. This was incredibly valuable. So, yeah, I appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you, and have a great day.
You as well.